Hello everyone, Yubel Master here, aka 38 the Master One, bringing you another video for the Yubel community. And you may be thinking, this isn't Yubel cards. Yes, you're right, I'm not usually a news channel. However, this is special because it's for Phantom Nightmare, which is the set that has the new Yubel archetype. So I thought it would be nice if in the run-up to the release of the new Yubel cards, I'll just cover all of the cards announced for it, as well as give a set overview so that when it comes out, we're all ready. So this will be part 2 of the new announcements for the set, and we have a second archetype, the first one being the Yubel archetype, a new archetype based off of 3 different ritual monsters that were released quite a long time ago. So the archetype is called Shukse in Japanese, which means enforcement or regulation apparently, and is also a play on Novox's prayer, i.e. no voice. So the translators here have come up with silent force, or silent force. So that seems pretty cool. So let's check out the first card here. Shukse no Inorite Law. So the defense stats reflect the attack stats of the ritual monster that it summons, and it's a level 1 light fairy monster, so it can be summoned via 1-for-1. And the effect says, you can only use the first and third effects of this card's name once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can place one Silent Force continuous spell or trap card from your deck face up in your spell and trap card zone. So that gets around stuff like Ash Blossom. If you would ritual summon exactly one Light Warrior or Dragon ritual monster with a card effect that requires use of monsters, you can use this card as the entire requirement. So basically this can be used as tribute for any of your ritual monsters in the deck. If a Light Warrior or Dragon ritual monsters is special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. So similar to the Samsara Lotus for the Yubel archetype, it has a way of special summoning itself back. So yeah, this seems to be a pretty good starter for the deck if it can search any of the continuous spells and traps. It's only continuous though, and it doesn't search rituals. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. We have Shukse no Ryu Kenki Saphira. Saphira, the Wise Silent Forcer Queen. It's a level 6 light dragon monster, and it has 2500 attack and 2400 defense. So this is based off the old ritual monster Saphira Queen of Dragons, which did have a pretty decent effect where you can choose between drawing cards, discarding one card from your opponent, or adding a light monster from your grave during the end phase that it's ritual summoned, or if a light monster was sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard this turn. So not bad at all. It was released around 2014 or 2016, and this new retrain effect, you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. You can discard this card, send one ritual spell from your deck to the graveyard, then add one Light Warrior or Dragon ritual monster from your deck to your hand. So it's a searcher that Foolish Burial's a ritual spell. You can banish this card from your graveyard, ritual summon one Light Warrior or Dragon ritual monster from your hand by tributing monsters from your field or hand whose levels are equal, blah blah blah. So basically, if you banish itself from the graveyard, it's a pseudo ritual spell. So this seems like a very good tool to add consistency to the deck. And next up we have Shukse no Ryukense Ceravus. Ceravus, the Sagely Silent Forcer Dragon. So this is based off the ritual monster that actually has a hand trap effect, which says when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a monster you control, quick effect, you can discard this card and negate the activation. Which is pretty good and is literally just a generic hand trap that you don't even need to ritual summon. But when it's on the field, it does have a quick effect where you can return this card to the hand to negate the special summon of a monster. So honestly, a pretty decent ritual card, and we'll probably see play in this new archetype as well. So just like the ritual monster, it's also a level 7 light dragon effect monster with 2600 attack and 2800 defense. And the effect is you can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. You can special summon this card from your hand by shuffling 2 spells from your hand or graveyard into the deck, including at least one ritual spell. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can return this card to the hand, special summon one Light Warrior or Dragon ritual monster from your hand or deck, but shuffle it into the deck during the end phase of this turn. So that's pretty good. It has a similar effect to the original ritual monster where it bounces itself to activate some sort of quick effect, but this time instead of negating a special summon, the quick effect special summons a whole ritual from the deck. Like, that's really good. Even though unfortunately it does return to the deck during the end phase, but that usually doesn't matter because you're probably going to be using it for tribute fodder for another ritual summon and using the effect while it's on the field or something like that. Yeah, this seems really good, especially when the special summon requirement is pretty easy by simply just shuffling 2 spells from the graveyard into the deck. And do remember that the previous card, Foolish Burial, is one of your ritual spells for its discard effect. So there's already some decent synergy going on between this archetype. And let's go on to the next card, which is the boss monster for the deck. Shukse Naru Shugosa Law Guardian. Skull Guardian, the Silent Forcing Protector. So this is the retrain of Skull Guardian, which was the original ritual monster that got summoned by Novox's Prayer. It's a level 7 Light Warrior ritual effect monster with the same stats as the original ritual monster. And the effect is you can ritual summon this card with Silent Forcing Prayer. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is ritual summoned, you can add 1 Silent Force monster or 1 Warrior or Dragon ritual monster from your deck to your hand. So it just searches on summon, that's pretty cool. Gains 2050 attack while Novox, the Silent Forcer Disciple, is on your field or in your graveyard, so it doesn't even need to be on the field, okay? So as long as you have used Novox as your starter, it basically has 4100 attack, which is very, very beefy. The third effect is when your opponent activates a card or effect and you control Novox, quick effect, you can negate that activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So it's a simple Omni negate, but you have to have Novox on the field, which is why Novox can summon itself from the graveyard. Similar to how Samsara Lotus summons itself back, but needs to be on the field to tribute itself to have its own monster negate effect. So yeah, this is a really strong boss monster of 4100 with an Omni negate, and it seems pretty easy to summon because it's just a level 7 ritual monster. You do only get the search when it's ritual summoned, so if it's cheated out with the previous card, then I assume you don't get the search, but otherwise this is honestly pretty scary as a boss monster. Let's go on to the actual ritual spell that summons it. Shukse Naru Inori, which is just Silent Forcing Prayer. So it's a ritual spell card. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Ritual summon 1 light ritual monster from your hand by tributing light monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal or exceed the level of the ritual monster you ritual summon. So they have to be light monsters that you tribute, but it can be used to ritual summon any light ritual monster from your hands. And the second effect, if a face-up light ritual monster you control leaves the field by your opponent's card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 Ceravus the Ancient and Ascended, Saphira Queen of Dragons, or Skull Guardian, the Silent Enforcing Protector from your hand or deck. Okay, ignoring its summoning conditions. So you can summon those 2 old dragon ritual monsters, which do have pretty decent effects, straight from the deck. But the light ritual monster you control does have to be removed by an opponent's card effect. So if it's destroyed by battle, then you can't banish this card to special summon from the deck. But this is really strong, especially since you can Foolish Burial this card straight away. At least it's once per turn, but still, it's essentially a free special summon from the deck if your opponent tries to remove one of your light ritual monsters. So you basically have to kill something twice if you're using card effects. So yeah, that's really good. Let's go on to the next one. It's the Continuous spell, which means it can be set directly from the deck using the level 1 monster. Shukse Naru Kekkai, Silent Forcing Barrier. You can only use a second effect of this card's name once per turn. While you control Novox, the Silent Forcer Disciple, or a light ritual monster, your opponent's monsters cannot target non-ritual monsters for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target light monsters you control with card effects. So that's really good protection. It means that your opponent can't attack into your level 1 monster, meaning that they can't just summon something and get rid of Novox to prevent you from using your Omni negate. And protecting all of your light monsters from targeting effects is pretty good as well. Very, very nice protection. And the second effect, during your main phase, you can add 1 Silent Force card or 1 Skull Guardian ritual monster from your deck to your hand, except Silent Forcing Barrier. So this is just a once per turn search. That's pretty good. And as a Yubel player, I am pretty jealous that this deck gets a free search without having to have any cost. Because for our searcher, Nightmare Pain, which is still pretty good because it does have the whole reflect damage effect added to it, but you do have to destroy a card in your hand or on the field, which sure, Yubel does benefit from, but it is technically a cost if you think about it. Whereas this is just a free search straight up, so we can see the combo line going on here where you use 1 for 1 to summon Novox, and then Novox searches this continuous spell, and then you can use the continuous spell to search whichever ritual piece you're missing. Or maybe one of the effect monsters that searches even further. So yeah, very consistent looking archetype here. Next up we have a trap card, Shukse Naru Ikor, which is Silent Forcing Authority. You can use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. During the main phase, you can activate one of these effects. You can either shuffle 1 light warrior or dragon ritual monster or 1 ritual spell from your hand or graveyard into the deck, and if you do, take 1 Silent Force monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. And the second choice is target cards your opponent controls up to the number of light warrior and dragon ritual monsters you control, destroy them, Also, destroy this card. So basically, you can either keep this card on the field and during the main phase, so your opponent's main phase or your main phase, but you can only use them once per turn, you basically recycle one card from the graveyard and then add a monster or special summon it straight from the deck. Or you can use it to destroy your opponent's cards. But if you do, then you have to destroy the continuous trap as well. So yeah, this is pretty good. They basically have two continuous ways of gaining advantage each turn, and the continuous trap can also be used as an interrupt instead of a advantage generator. This deck so far honestly seems really good, really consistent, and I can definitely see them consistently bringing out this boss monster with a really powerful Omni Negate, as well as the old ritual monsters, which also have pretty good effects as well. So yeah, I'll be pretty curious as to how this deck turns out. I think it will be pretty good straight off the bat, especially since there's a lot of ritual support out there nowadays. So what do you guys think? Is this deck going to be a meta contender? Is this deck going to be a threat to the Yubel archetype? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and stay tuned for more card reveals for Phantom Nightmare. See you in the next video.